It's lucky number 13, and I'm starting to think. I don't know if this is going to work out. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm grateful to be part of this marginalized community, and I'd really like to keep living like this. I mean, but 13 is a lot to take. 13 rejection letters over the course of a career, I can understand. But this is like 13 in 6 months. I just don't think I can take another. Dear Colin, thank you for submitting your screenplay, which, by the way, they can never seem to remember the name of, to our festival, which, by the way, I wouldn't know the name of because I've been rejected by 12 others and they're all starting to blur together. It gets me thinking. I'm starting to wonder if they're looking for something else. Not so much a screenplay, but something entirely different. Like, remember those 8 years, not so long ago, when we, the people, were asked to pick a president? Registered voters over the age of 18 hit the polls, and twice in a row, they picked something entirely contrary to the desired. It was like some large-scale ruse where out of all the qualified and intelligent men and women that fit the criterion, in a fluke of events, drum roll please, and the winner is, hailing from nepotistic Testes, with a backwoods twang and his New England educated tongue, and dreams of cocaine and baseball in his head, a demagogue slipped through the well-oiled ranks. Pun intended. I'm wondering if it's something like that. And so the letter continues. Your story was read. Was read. Wait, am I supposed to think that you possibly just deposited my $40 check and called it a day? Is my lack of being someone of relevance's nephew, is that grounds for not even opening my self-addressed stamped envelope included document? And maybe I should mention the $40 that you just gave your assistant to go on a run to buy you a seared ahi steak served over a bed of spinach with fresh ginger and the low-sodium soy teriyaki glaze. Was that my $40, man? And me and your assistant both know one thing that you don't. A $40 entrance fee is 4 hours before taxes and 5 hours after taxes of waiting for you and someone like you to boss us around, and you may not even have flipped through my script. But the letter goes on. Your screenplay was read and carefully reviewed by our literary staff and management. The best is when they list their readers. Joshua Horowitz from 110% Management, producer Leslie Livingston, TVA agent Ricardo De Sonia, writer and producer Ryan Sportello. What? Who are these guys? I am able to laugh after getting echoed or vetoed by a bunch of no-name agents and managers just rejected me. But can you imagine if it was the other way? Hey, Mom, great news. Oh, what is it? Well, I don't know how in the loop with the biz you are, but a very prestigious group of managers, namely Gold-Clad Management, read my script and just offered to represent me. In fact, I just got back from a meeting in their office in Woodland Hills. Alas, I must trudge on. Unfortunately, your screenplay did not fit this year's category selections for screenwriters competition. Didn't fit. Was there an error? Can I get my 40 bones back? Because it sounds to me like somebody made a mistake. I mean, did my heartbreaking story of a guy with Lou Gehrig's disease, overcoming all odds by becoming the first non-Swedish world's strongest man, accidentally get filed into the sci-fi category? And whose blunder was that? I've got a thing or two I'd like to say to the people up at the Framers in Motion Screenwriters Competition. There's been an error. Something is rotten in the state of Culver City on 2 accounts. 1, the obvious. They owe me 40 bones USD, which I'll take back in the form of cash, or cash because I am still using your highway robbery entrance fee as a tax write-off, while also not reporting that I retrieved the funds. Then after that's taken care of, well, I'll read on. We hope to see more of your work in future competitions. Best regards, Danette Estrada, Festival Coordinator. Danette. Now I can put a name to the foot that kicked my teeth in. Now when I hear Ride of the Valkyries blaring and I see my silhouetted foe coming over the hill on horseback, coming to slaughter my dreams, now I know that that western saddle tyrant is Danette. La Femme Fatale Danette. Oh, I'm sorry. Forget I said that, Danette. I'm just going to start over. Amigo, amigo. Writer to omnipotent reader. Danette, when you said, we hope to see more of your work in the future, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Our future together. I don't know you, and you really don't know me. What we have before us is a blank slate of the future. What we've got is a chance. Sure, you may have read my feature. You may have even remembered the name. Against Al, parenthetically S odds. Get it? Of course you get it. You're great, baby. Say, do you remember the part where the protagonist, Joaquin, is crying about his lack of Nordic heritage and his concern about being accepted on P-Cool, the professional circuit of obscure objects lifters? And his father cuts in and says, son, not being Swedish is the least of your concerns. And they smile and laugh and then cry because both know after he's lifted his last sub-zero refrigerator, which no one thought he could, and he's hoisted up on the shoulders of monstrous Swedes as brethren where he shivers in his spandex tank top and neon glasses to his death in a sea of love at only 27 years old. I'm starting to tear up thinking about it, and I wrote it. He was supposed to be dead by 23. So Danette, you see, I've got talent. I'm in a story like that, with a miracle like that, that'll rip your guts right out. Just try and shut off your tear ducts when Joaquin, all atrophied, is training with his 80-year-old father in the dead of an Arizona winter, cutting cacti, running and temperatures dropping into the low 70s, eating tremendous amounts of high-protein turkey pesto wraps, all in the hope of being the champion that no one says he can be. I mean, Danette, if that doesn't make you cry, make you want to be the best you can be, if that doesn't make you want to give your kid a hug and tell him to eat less sugar so he doesn't get juvenile diabetes, then I don't know if I want to be part of your inhumane contest. I don't know if that's the place for an artist such as myself, because we live in a cold world of car bombs, no-fly list, and paralyzing fear of consuming mercury-laden fish. You know what, Danette? Keep my $40 if you're going to be like that. If you're going to be the type of person that slams the door on a stranger instead of saying, come on in. Care for a bit of grappa and maybe a sliver of swordfish? Fine, I want nothing to do with your silly contest and its trivializing and preposterous selection process. I remember 2000 and 2004 all too well. And if you don't get it now, I'd be very surprised if in the next few years I hadn't been recognized as writing the scripted equivalent of a black president. Very surprised. 13 letters, huh? It's not so bad. I know a couple of guys with more. My neighbor collects them. He actually enters contests just for the rejection letters. He's even started asking me for mine. I told him, sure, but why? Come on in and see what I'm working on, he said. So I walk across the hall. He opened his door. Didn't offer me swordfish or anything, but you get the gist. Look, he says, pointing to his living room wall. And I look and I'm like, damn. And he says, it's good, right? And I'm like, damn. And he's like, yeah. And walks over to what he's created and puts himself in. Okay, it's basically one of those things you see at amusement parks or other touristy places that are cutouts of really buff guys or cartoon characters and you stick your head through and you take a picture. Well, he's got one that's a trough of sorts, and you get in on your knees, and above it is a wall-spanning guillotine created solely out of the words, we regret to inform you. Over and over again. So I tell him, you're really onto something. But he can't hear me because he's like in the middle of a literary French revolution of rejection. I mean, the guy's just dying for the slow, rusty blade of rejection to put him out of his misery.